Que pasa, mi gente? Calix Boxing 2.0, Cali X Boxing 2 over on Twitter. Make sure to follow me there and make sure to sub, like, hit the alerts on here. Hit that like button as y'all come in. Introduce yourself in the comment section. Let's get this thing popping on this Monday morning. And forgive my voice. I got swollen glands right now, all that good stuff. Ears bothering me, dizziness, but still knocking out this podcast because I wanted to get behind this microphone today and talk about what I saw on Saturday, the reaction to it. And this fight this past weekend is a perfect example of why you wait to give your hot takes, because a lot of the hot takes I saw over the weekend over on Twitter, I'm just minding my business, staying quiet, because of a lot of the hot takes were extremely cold. And I want to refrain from reacting to the freezing cold takes and be that guy, because I just want to get on here and give my opinion as to what I saw on Saturday. But my God, man, some of you dudes needed to stay off. Just stay off of online over the weekend, because yesterday, man, I just saw some of the most horrific boxing takes I've ever seen in my life. Ever. And I'm just saying to myself, just stay off for the day. Go outside, enjoy your vitamin D, enjoy your family. Like, just get outside, get offline, have some fun. Like, some of the takes were horrific about this fight and some of these fights on Saturday and Saturday night. Shout out to Matador. Y'all make sure to leave your comments as you come in. Introduce yourself and hit that like button as you come in. And most of my viewers watch this on archive. Been getting great archive views, so appreciate that. And make sure y'all leaving your comments underneath the video in the archives, because I get to all of them. Definitely appreciate y'all, and make sure to hit that like button as y'all are watching this in the archive. Shout out to Y. Yes, Usyk is my pound for pound king. Now, I can only speak on mine. It's all subjective, pound for pound, how you see things, right? As long as it's within the realm of possibility. But to me, I can no longer deny Usyk his pound for pound supremacy, his pound for pound kingdom, because he has earned it. And I'll get into that as to why he's earned it over the other fighters. He has separated himself from his peers at the top of the pound for pound list in the top 10. He just has. And we'll get to that in a minute. Appreciate you coming through. Shout out OJ22, and make sure y'all hitting that like button as y'all come in. Definitely appreciate y'all support, but gonna get into this. And before I do, shout out my guy Chauncey Pearls. Usyk is absolutely pound for pound, no doubt. Chauncey Pearls is the last of a dying breed. He's like a dinosaur. We made a bet, an online bet, and I've made several online bets as I've been here off and on for a decade. And most of these dudes, 95% of them just disappear. Block me, leave, mute me whenever they lose bets to me. And I've lost bets to people I always pay up. Always. My guy, Chauncey Pearls, we made a bet. He picked Joshua. I picked Usyk. He didn't complain. He didn't try to make up any conspiracies and excuses. Oh, I thought Joshua won the fight. No. As soon as the fight ended, my guy, Chauncey Pearls, was in my DM saying, give me your Venmo. What do I pay? All that good stuff. Chauncey Pearls is a good dude, stand-up dude. Great by me. Appreciate his support always, and appreciate him paying his due. Appreciate that, Chauncey. Last of a dying breed. Because I tell you, these dudes online, they disappear when they lose bets. My guy Chauncey did not. And was able to win that bet, and was able to, last week, the past 2 weeks, I pushed Usyk plus 170 by decision. Anytime I see the result of the previous fight show up in the plus territory, show up as the underdog, I jump on it. That's just my general initial reaction to that. And I did it in this fight, and it paid off. Because as Joshua made adjustments, the result ended up being the same. As the fight went on, it ended up being the same. More on that in a little while. Let me get to some people. HLD, appreciate you coming through. CY, I heard Bivol versus Zerto Ramirez in November. Is that true? It is. And that's out in the UAE, United Arab Emirates. And I wish these promoters will put these fights where they belong, but they took the highest side fee here. It is what it is. At least we're getting the fight, right? It's a hell of a fight. Hell of a fight. And I like Bivol big time in that fight, but Zerto is a live dog. Fury is right. If he trains, he could beat Usyk and AJ the same night. Both look bad to me. I disagree. I highly disagree with that. More on that in a little while. My guy, boxing historian 206. in the building. I think I'll be on him on the what is it? The aftermath with him and D Style and Mario and Bruce later on tonight over on D Style's channel. Usyk is pound for pound, but Fury is the heavyweight king. We shall see. We shall see. I'm going to collect 50 from you when Errol beats Bud. Errol ain't beating Bud. Not happening. Usyk is pound for pound number one. I agree. Fury will make it look easy. We'll see. We'll see, Haplo. We'll see about that. And by the way, Haplo, the betting odds, the opening betting odds for that fight, for that possible fight, is Fury minus 310. What I wrote it down earlier. Fury minus 310 and Usyk plus 170. So right around where it was for the first AJ versus Usyk fight. Right around the same. So they're giving Usyk the same chance to beat Fury that they gave Usyk to beat Joshua in the first fight. So that's where it's at. Usyk is a live dog in that fight. We'll see, Haplo. Fury is going to F up Usyk. A lot of people said that going into the Joshua fight. I'm just warning you. I'm just warning you. A lot of people said that going to Joshua. I know Usyk, Fury's not Joshua, all that stuff. We'll see. We'll see. Remember, Fury said his toughest fight, USS Cunningham, because it was hard for him to find Cunningham in the ring. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. First, before we get to AJ versus Usyk, because I got a lot to say about that, a lot to say about the reactions to this fight and why I think a lot of it is lazy. Philip Herzgoff. I call him Herzgoff. I butcher his last name. He fought Zhang over the weekend on the undercard. And I thought he lost the fight. I thought Zhang won the fight. I thought he edged it out. It wasn't the worst decision I've ever seen. However, I was fine with it. Okay, whatever. But this notion out there that Herzgoff is this just terror coming up. And his peers reacted that way. Remember, multiple guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys refused to fight this fight and fell all the way to Zhang. And I felt Zhang won the fight. Zhang made Herzgoff look robotic. He couldn't put together combination punches. And I've seen Zhang look terrible before. And he looked decent in this fight. And what this weekend showed me was you have to fight the fights. Right? It was the same thing with Navarrete. Nobody expected Navarrete to have the problems he had with Baez for half the fight. Nobody expected Herzgoff to have the problems that he had with Zhang and almost lose the fight. You fight the fights. Navarrete was a minus 1,100 coming into the fight. Herzgoff was a minus 1,000. They were huge favorites coming into the fight, and they had issues. They had issues because you have to fight the fights. And a lot of these guys are becoming part-time fighters and not sharpening their swords. And when they get in there and they face some resistance, we see who they are. Navarrete, to his credit, ended up stopping Baez with the body shot in the 6th round. And what a horrific body shot that was. Beautiful body shot. And ended up fending off the upset. But I'll tell you what, we've talked about Navarrete not facing the top competition at 126 up until this point. This fight right here showed that when he steps up, it's not going to be just Navarrete mowing through people. When he faces guys like Figueroa, Ray Vargas, whoever it may be, Lee Wood, Mauricio Lara, when he faced these guys at 126, because 126 is a deep division of good fighters. There isn't a great fighter that has shown his face yet. Guys will have opportunities. Navarrete is one of those guys. He'll have opportunities to show that he's a great fighter, but he's not there yet because he hasn't faced that level of opposition yet. And when it comes to him, Baez showed in this fight that he could give Navarrete problems, and other guys could give Navarrete problems in the past. My guy Haplo's talking trash. I can break it down for you real easy. I'll make a video for you when I get around to it. Anyone who thinks all that BS that works on AJ will work on Fury has another thing coming. Nobody's saying that, Haplo, but what we will say is Usyk has shown that he's a special fighter up to this point. And you can't just rule special fighters out. You can't. One thing that Usyk has shown so far in the heavyweight division is this narrative that just because heavyweights today are naturally bigger than heavyweights of generations before, heavyweights of today at the top would automatically beat heavyweights from previous generations. That's just not the case. Usyk has disproved that coming in the gate 5 fights into his heavyweight run. He's a smaller guy coming up from cruiser, and he's beat really good heavyweights up to this point, Anthony Joshua being one of them. So this notion that Fury, just because he's naturally bigger, would have ran through heavyweights in the 90s, would have beaten Rocky Marciano, would have beaten Joe Louis, Joe Frazier, just because those guys were naturally smaller, I think is lazy. It's lazy. And this isn't just nostalgia for me. As a guy who grew up in the 90s heavyweight era, that's not what it is. All I'm saying is if you look at this heavyweight division, it's fun at the top and I enjoy it. But is it a historically great heavyweight division that we had in the 90s and before then? No, it's not. So this narrative that just because Tyson Fury is bigger than his previous heavyweights from previous generations, that he walks through these guys and it gives him problems just because he's a big heavyweight who is versatile. And I agree with that. But I don't agree with the narrative that just because he's bigger, smaller heavyweights from previous generations would have beat him. Because in my mind, if we put one of the heavyweights from the top in the 90s, Usyk would have had the most success. That's what I believe. Usyk would have had more success in the 90s, I believe, than a Tyson Fury, than an Anthony Joshua, than a Deontay Wilder. He's got the skills to pay the bills. He would have been able to deal with heavyweights back then just because he has those skills, versatility. And I just think it's lazy that just because a guy is bigger, naturally bigger, today, that naturally bigger heavyweights would have done better in previous eras just because they're bigger. I think it's lazy. I think it's lazy. Shout out Lennox was best. Haplo again. AJ was landing on Usyk, who looks slower and less good in the second fight. If slow, AJ can land. Fury wins inside 8 rounds. People who think Usyk will win are delusional. Keep talking, Cunningham. Herzog looked like he almost wanted to quit at times. He did. And if Zhang is a better fighter, Zhang would have gotten Herzog out of there. And there are some favorable matchups for AJ going forward, and that's one of them. More on that in a minute. Let me get to these comments, and we'll go straight to, because everybody wants to talk that. Let's go straight to Usyk versus Joshua in a minute. Let me get through these. Zhang won that shit. I agree. Let's see. I'd pick Fury, but I'm not sure at all. Usyk pound for pound is much better than Fury. I agree with that. Navarrete is my guy. He's my guy too, man. Fun fighter. But he did show some vulnerabilities in this fight against the guy he was a heavy favorite against. Heavy favorite against Bias. And Bias gave him some issues. Herzog looked mentally not there at all. Fury also has problems with movement, boxing skills, and hand speed. Of another southpaw named Otto Wallen. Salute to you, Calix. Yep, I agree. Javier Martinez in the building. Nando in the building. No one's saying Usyk isn't special. He's just not going to beat Fury, man. Period. It's about skill and size and style, not size. And all that's fair. Look, you could be right. You could be right, Haplo. All I'm saying is we can't, after what I've seen from Usyk over the years, we can't rule him out. We can't just rule him out. Nando, I always appreciate your support, Nando. Always. Usyk beats Fury if the ref makes him box and not wrestle. That's another big thing, too, is will they allow them to box? Who will the referee be? Navarrete's style of boxing and weight bully will be the making of a short career. We'll see. We'll see when it comes to Navarrete. I've heard D-Style say this. Shout out to him in the chat. I've heard D-Style say this over and over. Navarrete, we want to see him step up. We want to see the step up. That's what we want to see. In this fight right here, it just shows that, right? He had issues with Bias in this fight. So it makes you wonder what happens when he fights a Mauricio Lara? What happens when he fights a Lee Wood? What happens when he fights Figueroa? What happens when he fights a Ray Vargas? What happens? If a Baez can outbox him for 6 rounds up until the body shot, what happens? Or is Navarrete that type of guy who it doesn't matter if he loses rounds? He's eventually going to get to you, much like a Tank Davis, right? It doesn't matter if he loses rounds. Maybe he's that type of guy. But we have to see. The only way we'll see is when he steps up. So let's get into, and oh, by the way, Lipinets beat Omar Figueroa, and that's what we expected. Lipinets stoppage. That was highly the betting favorite going into that fight. And that's what we expected. And we said it coming in. Omar Figueroa was the biggest victim of last week. Figueroa, 5 days before the fight, he was going to be fighting Adrian Broner, where he was a plus 180 underdog. And he had a good, I bet Figueroa plus 180 against Adrian Broner. I thought it was a no-brainer. I thought there was a lot of value in there. And I thought he would have pulled off that upset. I felt strongly about that. And then Broner pulls out of the fight 5 days out. Lipinets steps in, and Lipinets is much lower name brand, but a much higher threat, a much tougher fight than Broner. And people thought I was a hater when I was saying that, but I'm not. The betting odds showed it. He was plus 350 going in against Lipinets. So he's only almost twice as much of an underdog against Lipinets than he was against Broner. And we saw that, why that was on Saturday. But let's get into it. AJ versus Usyk 2. What did we say coming in? The adjustments that Anthony Joshua had to make: go to the body, be a little more aggressive with his power shots. We wanted him to be better with his jab. I'll speak on why the jab thing we overplayed a little too much in a minute. But the adjustments he needed to make, he needed to go to the body. Needed to be a little more aggressive early in the fight. But why we picked Usyk by decision coming into this fight, why we took the Usyk plus 170 is a guy is who he is. And when he's facing a special fighter, as is Alexander Usyk, even when he makes those adjustments, you're just assuming that Usyk can't make adjustments to the adjustments. We're assuming that the Usyk who fought Joshua in the first fight is the greatest Usyk that we've seen up to that point. In reality, what happened? Theoretically, you may have thought it played out that way. If Joshua does go to the body, if Joshua does get his power percentage up a little bit, Usyk's down a little bit, then instead of it being 8-4 Usyk or 7-5 Usyk, we flip it the other way. But what happened in theory? What happened in reality instead of theory? Anthony Joshua makes the proper adjustments. He goes to the body. He's a little more aggressive in spots with his power shots. Forget about the combination punches, because that was never going to happen. Anthony Joshua was never going to be able to put together combination punches against Alexander Usyk. It was never going to happen. Big fighters, it's tough for them to put together combination punches, which is what makes Tyson Fury special, right? He's a big dude, much to Haplo's point, versatile fighter, can put together combination punches. Joshua's not that guy. Joshua, it's just tough for big fighters to put together those combination punches to land on a smaller Usyk who is versatile, great head movement, can get off the line, can throw combination shots. And Joshua just couldn't do that. But that adjustment was never going to happen. But he made the body punching adjustment. He landed almost 3 times as much body punches in this fight than he did in the first fight. But what happened? What happened in this fight? People were assuming that Joshua makes those adjustments, that Usyk's not going to adjust to those. Usyk adjusted because Usyk's a special fighter. And that's the narrative that we had coming in, is Usyk by decision is the smartest play because Usyk's special. He's going to figure it out no matter what happens. He's the better fighter. He's going to figure it out. He's going to win the fight. He is the pound-for-pound king for a reason. Pound-for-pound kings don't just roll out of bed and become pound-for-pound kings. They don't. Alexander Usyk is 20-0, 13 KOs. And in those 20 fights, he's fought in 8 different countries. I'll repeat that stat. In 20 fights, he's fought in 8 different countries. Oh, what's the big deal? He fought. No, he's fought in 8 different countries. He's the road warrior. And it's not like he's just going to different countries to fight bums. And on top of that, in the U.S., he fought on the East Coast and the West Coast. He's not going there to fight bums. He's going there to win titles. He's going there to defend titles. He's going there to unify, become undisputed. And in those 20 fights in 8 different countries, he's consolidated 7 of the 8 major belts in the 2 weight classes he's competed in. Special fighter. Good fighters don't do that. Really good fighters don't do that. Not even great fighters do that. Special fighters pull that off. You have to be special to pull that off. It's time to give Usyk his flowers. Those who are still holding out, it's time, dude, stop. It's time to give him his flowers. 8 countries and 20 fights. 7 of the 8 major belts. The only one he doesn't have is a WBC at heavyweight. God only knows what's going to happen with that this week. Because Fury's got what, about 5-6 days to decide what he's going to do with that? Lord only knows. And hopefully he's able to keep it and comes to the negotiation table and we go to undisputed, because if that belt becomes vacant and it goes over to the PBC, God only knows when we'll get undisputed in the heavyweight division. God only knows. But Usyk is a special fighter. That's the first take that everybody needs to take from this. Special fighter, pound for pound king. I don't even know if it's debatable at this point. To me, he separated himself from his peers now. He separated himself from his peers. That resume right there and what he's done in 20 fights, he's made every fight count. There's no throwaway fights. Every fight counts. And by the way, he now has the lineal heavyweight title, which goes back to the 1860s. He's now seen as the pound for pound king, the lineal. Tyson Fury vacated that, gave it up. 1 and 2 in the division are now Usyk and Joshua. By rules, by lineal rules, by Ring Magazine rules, when the heavyweight champion vacates, if number 1 and number 2 in the division fight each other, they fight for the lineal title, and that's Usyk. What I love about Usyk is, I said the same thing about Mayweather when he was fighting. When Mayweather was fighting, it's hard to land combination punches against him. And that's why I'm not too critical on Anthony Joshua not being able to land combination punches, because people just say stuff. They say stuff like, oh, if Anthony Joshua would just let his hands go. Yeah, if he would just let his hands go. If he would have just let his hands go. If the sky was green, then it would be green. But it's not. It's blue. It's hard to let your hands go against a dude you can't let your hands go against. Usyk's not going to allow you to do that. He's not going to allow you to hit him with 3, 4, 5. It's not going to happen. By that time, he's either out of there or he's countering you. And it was the same thing with Mayweather. The guys who are able to throw 4, 5, 6 punch combinations had success against Mayweather, a la De La Hoya, Maidana. They're throwing punches from weird angles. They're bigger. They're able to lock Mayweather against the ropes, but Mayweather is allowing them to do that while he's taking breathers. And what happens? If those guys have success with combination punches, what happens? Mayweather starts scoring his right after. Mayweather was a master at not allowing you to get one up on him. Not allowing you to. And if you got lucky and won a round on him, look out the next round. Look out the next round, because he's coming for you the next round. Go watch Mayweather fights. When Mayweather would lose his round, his best round of the fight would be the very next round after the round he loses. Go watch the Mosley fight in the 3rd round. What happens? Mosley has one of the best rounds ever against Mayweather in the 2nd round. 3rd round, he gets destroyed. Lose the round easily. Mayweather takes back control, momentum, and it goes on throughout the fight. What happened in this fight? What happened? Anthony Joshua has one of the biggest rounds of his career in round 9. Has Usyk hurt. The body shots start to pay dividends. He's slowing Usyk down. He's landing combination punches against Usyk. What happens in round 10? One of the biggest rounds in Usyk's career. Usyk comes in, destroys Anthony Joshua in the 10th round. Destroys him. And that's what's special about Usyk. If you win a round off him, he's coming for you the next round. If you score against him, he's coming right back and he's going to score and he's going to one up you in the next trade. That's what Usyk's special at. If you look at the CompuBox stats of this fight, it paints a picture pretty much of what we saw in the first fight, even with Joshua making the adjustments. Joshua got Usyk's punching power percent punching down 3-4 points, 3-4 percentage points. Joshua's power percentage went up 3 or 4%. He made some adjustments, got better in those, but what happened? The score overall is still 7-5, 8-4 towards Usyk, much like the first fight. Joshua landed 12% of his jabs in the first fight, 9% in this one. So you say, oh, that's a horrible jab percentage. Usyk's was down as well. Why? Because they're showing a lot of respect for each other when they're in range, and they're using the jab as throwaway punches. Nervous energy. They're trying to get in range and land big power punches, and they both had success. And Joshua had more success of that in this fight due to the body punching. And due to the fact also that his overall punches came down in this fight. And I thought that was a smart play too. And I thought that was one of the lazy narratives coming into the second fight was that Joshua needs to be more aggressive. No, Joshua just needed to be more consistent throughout the fight. He's not going to let his hands go against Usyk early in the fight in the last 12 rounds. He's not. He was gassed after the first fight. He was gassed after the second fight. He was locked in. He was patient in this fight. I thought the first half of the fight, he looked real patient, was boxing well. I thought Joshua looked good in this fight. I don't understand this narrative that some people have that Usyk and Joshua did not look good in this fight. That's not the fight I saw. Joshua looked good. Joshua made the proper adjustments. Joshua was destroying Usyk's body, and Usyk was walking through him. It just shows you, once again, the special fighter that Usyk is. He can walk through the body shots. Those body shots that Joshua was landing knock out 90% of the heavyweights out there, not Usyk. Usyk, a naturally smaller guy, walked through the body shots, walked through the head shots that came after that. Look at the 9th round. Joshua landed shot after shot after shot on Usyk. Usyk comes right back out in the 10th round and really snatches Joshua's soul, because that was it. When you have the round of your life and a guy lifts up out of school the next round and has the round of his life and destroys you in the next round, snatches your soul. How do you recover from that? And that's why Usyk won 10, 11, 12. And once again, it reverted right back to where it was in the first fight. After the adjustments, after all that stuff, it's still a special fighter beating a great fighter. And that's what we had. Anthony Joshua is a great fighter. He's a great fighter. You don't beat undefeated Dillian White, undefeated Charles Martin, undefeated Brazil, Klitschko, undefeated Joseph Parker, Povetkin, Ruiz in the rematch, and you don't go 8-4, 7-5 with Usyk twice if you're just a good fighter. You don't. I'm sorry. For the Anthony Joshua haters out there, I'm sorry. It doesn't jive. Joshua's a great fighter. Anthony Joshua's a great fighter, and he's still the cash cow of the division. He's still the second biggest face of boxing in the world, and that's not going to change after 2 straight losses. It's just not. So for the people out there preying on Joshua's downfall, who don't like Joshua for whatever reason, he's not going away. Sorry to break it to you. And his stock doesn't drop significantly after 2 straight losses to Usyk. It just doesn't. He made the proper adjustments in the fight. He fought to win. That's the main thing there. He never went in survival mode. Never went in survival mode in this fight. He was always looking for a way to win the fight. Never checked out. He never checked out in this fight. It just wasn't there because guess what? He's fighting a special fighter. Usyk's a special fighter, generational talent. He is the pound-for-pound king. The scorecards were the scorecards. 115, 113, Joshua I felt was bad. I don't see how you get to 7 rounds for Joshua, but he was in this fight. He was in the fight. I saw scorecards even through 10. I saw scorecards even through 8, even through 6. He was in the fight. It's just when the cards were down, and Usyk said it. He said, Joshua looked confident. I looked in his eyes. He looked confident that he had this fight in the 8th round, and I knew I had to step on the gas. I knew I had to go for it. And he went for it. He went for it in rounds 10 through 12. I felt he swept 10 through 12 and left no doubt as to who the better fighter was. And for all the shenanigans after, look, y'all need to give dudes some time. 72-hour rule. After 72 hours, if you're going on and on and on about the loss, look, this is why some fighters rub people the wrong way right now. Deontay Wilder for months, years, going on and on about poisoned water and egg weights and all this stuff. I can cut fighters slack the night of a fight, post-fight interviews, the next morning, 2 mornings after, 72-hour rule. Anthony Joshua, to me, didn't have to apologize to anybody, but he still went out and apologized on Twitter for his behavior yesterday. To me, he didn't have to apologize to anybody, but he did. Dropping the belts out of the ring, whatever he was saying after the fight, I wasn't even paying attention. I was at a party, to be honest, but I watched the fight again after to make sure everything that I saw was on check, and I didn't pay much attention to the speech because I knew it was the rule. It was the exception and not the rule when it comes to Joshua. That's not Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, over his years, has shown that he wants to fight the best. If it was up to Anthony Joshua, he would have fought Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury already. Why hasn't he fought Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury? It's because of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. It's not because of Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua has grown on me over the years because he consistently wants to fight the best fights. He consistently shows up, even in losses. When he loses, he immediately tries to avenge the loss. Everybody was telling him Usyk is all wrong for you after the first fight. Let's just move on. You're still Anthony Joshua. Let's move on. No, we're not moving on. It's the same thing with Canelo. Canelo loses to Bivol. Everybody's telling him Bivol's all wrong for you. Canelo's saying this can't end this way. And Canelo's going to circle back to this in May 2023 and try to fight Bivol again. That's what guys who are cut from that cloth do. And that's what people miss when we talk about Canelo and Joshua. They have nice built-in fan bases because they have the it factor. They're the only 2 fighters in the sport currently with the it factor. The women love them. Dudes want to be them. But over time, you have to build substance to your resume, and both guys did. I mentioned Anthony Joshua, undefeated Dillian White, undefeated Charles Martin, undefeated Brazil, undefeated Joseph Parker, beats Klitschko, fights Ruiz twice, fights Usyk twice. He's built a resume. He's built substance to back up the it factor. Canelo, the same thing. Canelo has fought guys that Golden Boy was telling him you shouldn't fight. Eddie Hearn was telling him you shouldn't fight. No, you shouldn't fight Austin Trout right now. No, don't fight Erislandy Lara. No, it's too early for Mayweather. No, you shouldn't fight Dimitri Bivol. Fights him. He fights him. So even if some of those are losses, he's building an organic fan base because guys know, fight fans know what they're going to get with these guys. They're going to get dudes who want to be the best. They're going to get dudes who, if they lose, they're going to try to avenge the loss. They're going to get dudes who are entertaining, even in losses. And that's why, even with Anthony Joshua losing 2 straight fights, he's still the cash cow. He's still the cash cow in the heavyweight division. Because guess what? I got news for you. Anthony Joshua versus Philip Herzgoff. Big fight. Anthony Joshua versus Zhang, who lost the fight. Big fight. Anthony Joshua versus Joe Joyce. Big fight. Anthony Joshua versus Dillian White rematch. Big fight. Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Humongous fight. Even if Fury says, you know what? Usyk won, but I want to fight Anthony Joshua, and that fight happens. Humongous fight. Anthony Joshua is still the cash cow of the division, and he is because he's built an organic fan base. He stayed in people's faces 5 times in 2015. Fought 3 times in 2016, and then after that, 2 times per year. He stayed in people's faces. Other than 2021 and 2022 due to COVID and the war. But he's giving us the fights we want to see. He's consistently staying in people's faces. He's consistently giving us entertaining fights. And Anthony Joshua, look at me when I tell you this. Anthony Joshua, when he's gone, no matter when it is, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you're going to miss him. You're going to miss him. Canelo Alvarez, when he's gone, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, so whenever it is, whenever these guys, their skills start to diminish and they leave the sport, you're going to miss them. You may not know it now. You may not appreciate them now. But Usyk doesn't make 40 million plus against anybody else on the planet. Not even close. Not even close. Anthony Joshua brought that event. People went to the middle of the desert to watch these guys fight. These guys make almost 50 million apiece, and that's because of Anthony Joshua. Whoever gets the call next, it could be Philip Herzgoff, it could be Zhang, it could be Joe Joyce, it could be any of them. They're praying for that fight because they want to fight the cash cow, and that's Anthony Joshua. And you got to show him the respect. And it's not just a manufactured talent. He's not a manufactured talent. He has built that substance. He has built that resume. You can't go through the resume that he's gone through with 3 losses if he's a manufactured talent. Usyk is a special fighter. He's another guy. You're going to miss him when he's gone. And he's telling you after the fight, it's Fury or go home. Fury's not coming up to the table. I'm retired. Fury comes to the table, I'll fight Fury. And that's the fight I want. He's telling you you're not going to have me much longer. Appreciate these talents when they come around. Appreciate dudes who want to fight the best no matter where. The dude has fought in 8 countries in 20 fights. I can't get over that stat. In one of the countries he fought at East Coast and West Coast. 7 of the 8 major belts, and now he's won lineal at cruiserweight and heavyweight. He's doing it against naturally bigger guys. Usyk's special, man. He's special. But what I'll say about Anthony Joshua to finish off on that point is what happened after the fight was the exception. It wasn't the rule when it comes to Anthony Joshua. And I knew it. All these people are on Twitter, bumping their gums on Twitter, saying, oh, I'm professional. You got to give the dude time. It's what comes with the package. The dude put all his eggs in one basket. I have to get my titles back. I have to beat this guy. My legacy is on the line, and it doesn't happen for him. And he's absolutely destroyed after the fight. And the behavior directly after the fight was inconsistent. He's got the Ukraine flag. He gives Usyk props. Then he goes on a tantrum and leaves the ring, comes back to the ring, goes on another little tantrum, and then gives Usyk his props again, and then goes back to the press conference and starts crying and saying, I just lost the fight. It was a dude who is gutted. He's destroyed. He's absolutely destroyed. You got to cut him some slack. If it's 2 months from now, 3 months from now, and he's saying I had an injury or my trainer poisoned me with water, all kind of stuff, then you start to criticize. But you got to cut these dudes a little bit of slack. It's the rule, not the exception. We talk about it's the exception, not the rule. It's where we talk about track record. Anthony Joshua has a track record of giving props when he loses, trying to avenge it. And now he's lost twice, did not avenge that. And he's still moving on, and he's still going to be a cash cow. He's still going to be the draw of the division. And you're still going to see the same consistent behavior from Anthony Joshua over time. And that's why we need to appreciate this dude. And losses aren't the end-all, be-all. We have to get over this. I want to show y'all something real quick. Let me screen share this. I need to show y'all this. Let me show y'all this real quick. You know what this is right here? And y'all should see it real good. That's what my guy G Funky calls dumpster juice. That's disgusting. And what do you mean by that, Cal? Why is that disgusting? Look at all that talent there. Yeah, it's talent. Unrealized, most of it's unrealized talent. And why do I say that? You know what the record, and I looked this up because everybody was going crazy over the UFC fight on Saturday night. Everybody was talking about it. Usman gets knocked out with about 51 seconds left in the fight after he's winning the fight. And somebody mentioned that Usman was about to tie the record for most consecutive wins in UFC history. Do you know what that record is? Chat, put it in the chat. Does anybody know what the record for most consecutive victories in the UFC is? Put it in the chat. Take a guess. Take a guess as to what you think is the most consecutive victories from a UFC fighter. I mean, put it in the chat. Take a guess. No, Chauncey, it's not 7. It's higher than that. You got to give him more credit than that. 8 or 9. No, it's 16. It's 16, Anderson Silva. Usman almost tied it. But what I'm saying is 16. When it comes to the UFC, 16 is seen as this high number. This high number of consecutive victories. And UFC fans treat that as, man, he won that many straight fights. That's what their culture is. Their culture over there is, even if a guy loses, he'll show up on pay-per-view in the next fight. Even if a guy loses, it's not the end-all be-all. He lost the fight. We're still going to show up in the next fight. He lost the fight. Like, it's just a fight. He lost. He's going to show right back up. And we're going to show right back up to watch him fight because he just lost the fight against a good fighter. That's their culture. That's their culture there. Their culture is 16 straight wins. That's huge. We don't expect guys to get into double-digit straight wins. We don't expect it of them. We expect guys to lose. It's an expectation. They're fighting top competition. They're going to lose fights. It happens. That's the UFC culture, and I know it because I'm surrounded by them, and every single weekend I talk to them. Every single weekend I'm around UFC fans, and I talk to them, and they don't look at it the same way we look at it as boxing fans. They don't talk about purse splits and money and all this stuff. They don't talk about any of that. They talk about the fights. They're happy with the fights. And when a guy loses a fight, they show right back up. Poirier loses a fight, they're going to show right back up. Conor McGregor loses fights, they're going to show back up and watch these guys fight. For us, when fighters lose a fight, oh my God, he lost the fight. He's exposed. Anthony Joshua will lose 2 straight fights to Usyk, and it's the end of the world to some people. And I'm sitting here saying Anthony Joshua's sitting on his however many $1 million yacht right now. He just made $45 million in the middle of the desert for one fight. He's going to show back up. He's talking about showing back up in December, and I appreciate him for that. But guess who's going to show up and watch Anthony Joshua when he fights again? This guy. I'll be there. I'm watching because I respect what Anthony Joshua has given us. He's giving us Canelo and Anthony Joshua. I'm telling you, we need to respect these guys more than we do. They're the faces of boxing. They become the face of boxing for a reason. And they continue to stay consistent. Canelo is outlapping these dudes. Fought 3 times last year. Fought 4 times in 12 months. 11 months, actually. Fought 4 times in 11 months. While these dudes are fighting once a year. Anthony Joshua loses a fight to Usyk. He's talking about coming back in December. While some of these dudes are fighting once a year, win or lose. We need to respect them, win or lose. And that's what we don't have that UFC fans here have. And that's why I bring up this graphic right here. The issue with this graphic is how many O's do you have in this graphic? You have way too many zeros in this graphic. People see on the surface, they see, 7 undefeated fighters in the top 10 at welterweight. What a strong division. You know what I see? I see a bunch of fighters who are untested. I see 2 fighters at the top who are undefeated, who have been the 2 top fighters in this division for 4 years, undefeated, and have not fought each other. And we're sitting here almost into September 2022, and they still have not signed a damn contract. Inexcusable. Inexcusable. But Boots and Virgil can't fight each other because they're both undefeated and they're coming up at the same. No. Fight each other. They're all young. And no, they're not young. They're not young. Fight each other. It's inexcusable to have 7 undefeated fighters in the top 10 in any division. And we have several divisions where we have 3 or 4 guys undefeated in the top 10. It should not be happening. You should never, ever, ever. This is disgusting right here. This makes me want to vomit. This makes me want to just puke my guts out. Seriously. This is one of the worst pictures I've ever seen in my life. But Calix, look how much talent's in the division. It's all unrealized potential is what it is. I see unrealized potential in this picture, and it will continue to look like unrealized potential until these guys fight each other. This is disgusting. This is the opposite of the Mona Lisa right here. This is the opposite of a Michelangelo painting. This is freaking disgusting. 7 undefeated fighters in the top 10 in one division. Absolutely disgusting. And this is what I talk about when I say our culture needs to change in boxing. This does not happen. And look, dude, I don't want to be one of these, oh, UFC fight, UFC's taking it. No, I hate the UFC. Can't watch it. Can't watch it. And I love boxing. But this right here, this is what they have over us. In no division in the UFC are you going to see anything that closely resembles this. This is absolutely disgusting. This is disgusting. I'm serious, man. It makes me want to vomit. 7 undefeated fighters in the top 10 in one single division. And this is what I talk about is you get your actions. Your actions show them what you value. So when a fighter loses a fight and you start to throw him under the bus, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get more fighters say, I don't want to take that chance. I don't want to take that chance of getting thrown under the bus. Promoters and managers see this and say, oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I can protect I can put my fighter up there against average opposition and they'll be in the top 10 anyway. They'll get their props anyway. Beautiful. This is the culture we've created as boxing fans as well. Never, ever, 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 ever should we see 7 undefeated fighters in the top 10 in the division. We shouldn't even be seeing 3 or 4. Guys should be consistently fighting each other at the top to where that's impossible physically. Mathematically, that should be impossible. Mathematically, this right here should be impossible. And that's one thing they have over us. 16 straight wins. 16 consecutive wins is the UFC record. We have 6 fighters in this one division who have broken that record. One division. One division. It's disgusting. It disgusts me. It makes me want to throw up. Losses should be okay to boxing fans. I understand fighters don't want to lose, but fighters need to know if they lose, guess what? We're showing back up. As long as you showed up, you didn't check out, you lost to a great fighter, it's fine. Anthony Joshua, dude, if Anthony Joshua were to watch this show, my message to him would be, I appreciate you fighting Usyk twice. I appreciate it. I appreciate you not checking out in either fight. I appreciate you giving us 2 big events. And it's fine. You lost. It's fine. You lost to a better fighter. You lost to a special fighter. You lost to a generational talent. But guess what? We're showing back up in the next fight because you consistently showed us throughout your career you want to fight the best fighters. You've consistently showed us that when you lost, you want to avenge those losses immediately. And you consistently put on entertaining big events. Guess what? I'm showing back up. You fight Joe Joyce. You fight whoever it may be. Dillian White rematch. You fight Zhang. You fight Herzog. You fight Deontay Wilder, and imagine how big of a fight Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder would be. No matter who you fight, though, we're showing up because we know you're going to give us that consistent behavior of a guy who wants to fight the best. The same with Canelo. So while these other dudes fight average fighters once per year, guess what? And they're going to complain about external factors as to why they're not big. They're not big because they need to look in the mirror and see why they're not big. If Jermall Charlo retires tomorrow, nobody's going to miss him. If Boo Boo Andre retires tomorrow, nobody's going to miss him. Not going to miss him. Don't care. Don't care. That culture of keeping the O, that culture of low risk, high reward, it's killing us. And it's reflected in this picture right here. 7 undefeated fighters in a single division. And you can tell everything you need to know about a boxing fan by how they react to this. The boxing fans who see this and say, oh, man, loaded division. Look at all the talent. Oh, look at all those great fighters. No. I see unrealized, untapped potential. Never, ever in a million years should a division have 7 undefeated fighters in the top 10. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And that's what the UFC has over us. I'm telling you. You keep missing it. You keep missing it. That's what they have over us. They treat their fighters different. Their fighter loses, the fighter lost. The fighter will suffer through some tough memes for a couple of weeks, and then guess what? They're back on the saddle, and the fans are right back there supporting them. That's what they have over us. And we do the same to Anthony Joshua, Canelo Alvarez. But what I'm saying is the reason we get this right here is fighters are afraid to take risks. They're not taking risks. And that's why I appreciate the Anthony Joshuas of the world, because the Anthony Joshua of the world, Anthony Joshua, like I said, could fight my 66-year-old dad 0-0 in box rec, and 70,000 people will show up in the Stalker Stadium to see it. That's Anthony Joshua. But Anthony Joshua still wants to go for undisputed. He still wants to unify. He still wants to fight the top competition out there because he's Anthony Joshua. So that off my screen. That's disgusting. This is where we're at. So the fight I saw on Saturday night, and people keep missing it with their comments, I saw 2 fighters who fought at the highest level they're capable of. And if they fight 10 times, we'll get 10 same results, 10 equal results. We'll get Anthony Joshua making adjustments, and we'll get Usyk making those adjustments to the adjustments, because Alexander Usyk is a better fighter. And no matter how the chess match plays out, he'll always checkmate Anthony Joshua. It will be 10 Alexander Usyk decisions if they fought 10 times. Some guys you can't do it, man. You can't beat them. Mosley had guys that he could beat that other guys couldn't beat. Mosley had guys he could not beat. He just matched up horrifically with them. Mosley's still a great fighter. Mosley's still a Hall of Famer. Anthony Joshua will still be a Hall of Famer. Alexander Usyk had his number. Stylistically, he'll always have his number. Alexander Usyk is a generational talent, special fighter. Number 1 pound for pound. Anybody still holding out? Hold out at your own. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you at this point. Alexander Usyk is special. He can slip shots. He can counter. He can give you lateral movement. He can fight off the front foot. He can fight going backwards. He's got it all. Special athlete. More punching power than people give him credit for, because I see people out there, oh, it was just pitter-pat shots. All right. I don't know what fight you were watching. I don't know. So neither one of them looked all that great. I don't know what fight you were watching. Anthony Joshua made the proper adjustments. Those body shots that Anthony Joshua was landing, I'm telling you, those are vicious, vicious body shots, and Usyk walked through them. I saw a fight that was more entertaining than the first fight. I saw a great fighter fighting a special fighter. And I saw a fight in which the special fighter just has the great fighter's number. Anthony Joshua fought above himself. He fought to the highest potential he could possibly fight to. He made the proper adjustments. Just wasn't good enough. Sometimes it's like that. And Usyk moves on. And I'm telling you, for the dudes out there saying Fury's just going to walk through Usyk, Fury obviously has a lot of advantages against Usyk. Much longer fighter, knows how to use it, more versatile. He can put together combination punches better than Anthony Joshua. He can find his range better than Anthony Joshua. He's got those two things over Joshua. He seems to be a little bit better conditioned. So, yes, in that aspect, yes, I get it. But when we're talking about special fighters, you can't just discount them. And Usyk has shown consistently fighting top competition over 2 divisions, over in 8 different countries. He's passed every single test. Every single test. Put anybody else through a similar resume and see if they're undefeated. 8 different countries, 2 different weight classes, fighting guys naturally bigger than him in one weight class, and he's 20-0, passed every single test. Put anybody else through that resume and see if they're undefeated. And that's my argument for Alexander Usyk for pound. And it's also my argument as to how you cannot just discount Alexander Usyk in any fight. I don't care who he's fighting. So these people who just think that Tyson Fury is going to walk through him, the odds makers have all this priced in, and they came out with Tyson Fury minus 310, Alexander Usyk plus 175. Alexander Usyk's a live dog in that fight. So gun to my head, right now I would lean Tyson Fury, but that would be like 55-45. If Alexander Usyk upsets Tyson Fury, you will not see shock on his face. To discount a dude who has gone through this run undefeated, that's a mistake. It's a mistake. He can slip jabs. He can get range. And if you think you're just going to jab and hold him to death and win a fight by decision, I don't know. That's an intriguing matchup. I can easily see Tyson Fury stinking it up and it not being an entertaining fight. But Usyk is a live dog, nonetheless. And the fact that he wants undisputed. And this is what I said most of all. It's good to have a lineal heavyweight champion who is consistent and who wants to be undisputed. It's good to have it. I can't say the same thing about Tyson Fury. He just hasn't shown that consistency throughout his career. Fighting his mandatories, not fighting his mandatories, retiring multiple times. A lot of questions as to why he's retired. We haven't seen the consistency from the lineal heavyweight champion that we will see now. The tough thing about this is it looks like Usyk doesn't want to fight too many more times. So that's why I said Anthony Joshua winning this fight on Saturday night, we would have had a heavyweight champion who would have wanted to fight long-term and been consistent, but it just wasn't in the cards because Usyk's just a better fighter. But what I'm not doing is eulogizing Anthony Joshua because he will be around for several years and he will be the cash cow. And it's the same thing I say about Deontay Wilder. As much as he's rubbed us the wrong way, he's still a net positive by far for the division. He's entertaining, and he's going to be around for a while, I believe, as well. I wouldn't be shocked to see him fight Ruiz in the next fight after Helenius. And I continue to go back to this. Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder will be one of the biggest fights that could be made in boxing. And the fact that Deontay Wilder and his side haven't been able to come to the table and get this done, frustrating to me, that as well. So just in recap, appreciate Anthony Joshua while he's here because you're going to miss him when he's gone. Stop fretting over losses. 72 hours, we should be over it, looking on to the new thing. And we will still support Anthony Joshua because he's given a consistent behavior of fighting against risk, fighting risky fights, and doing it consistently throughout his career. And will continue to show up for him. I wish more fighters would do the same. And I wish our culture in boxing would switch from this no loss. Every loss is an indictment on the fighter that lost, instead of maybe he just lost to a better fighter. It happens. This past weekend showed us why we fight the fights. UFC shows us why we fight the fights. Upsets happen every weekend in the UFC. A couple upsets almost happened in boxing this weekend. Baez versus Navarrete. Zhang against Herzog. They almost happen because we fight the fights for a reason. This doesn't just happen in the theoretical world. Once you put these fights in reality, they happen for a reason, and upsets happen for a reason. And that's what JC says here. One loss and you're exposed. It's disgusting. He's right. We need to get rid of this you lose and you're exposed culture. Sometimes you just lose to a better fighter. Sometimes you have an off night. It happens. It happens. Anthony Joshua lost the fight. He lost. We move on. Canelo lost the fight. He lost to Bivol. We're over it. Canelo's fighting Golovkin next month, and it's $650 just to get in the building. That's not counting fees and taxes. People are still showing up because they know Canelo's track record. People are still showing up because they know AJ's track record. AJ has proven time and time again he'll fight the best opposition available to him. He's proven that he wants all the belts. He's proven that he gives us big events. He's proven that he's entertaining. This guy didn't just roll out of bed and become one of the faces of boxing. Yes, he's the dude that all the women want, all the dudes want to be. He had that built-in fan base, but you got to keep it and you got to build upon it. Him and Canelo did that over time by building substance to their resume. Undefeated Dillian White, undefeated Charles Martin, Brazil, beats Klitschko, undefeated Joseph Parker, fights Povetkin, beats him, fights Ruiz twice, loses to Ruiz, goes right back to it and beats him, beats Pulev, loses to Usyk, goes right back to it. This is the resume that you build. And that's why he's built an organic fan base that will not leave him. Anthony Joshua's fan base will not leave him. And rightfully so. Because he's built a fan base. He's built trust with them. He's done it old school. He's built an organic fan base. And good for him. Canelo's fan base will not leave him off of a loss. Good for him. It's what UFC has over us, the organic fan bases, and they do it by the top fighting the top consistently. So even when their fighters lose, it's not the end of the world. I said it earlier. 16 consecutive wins is the UFC record. I just showed you a division, the welterweight division, in which you have 7 undefeated fighters in the top 10, which is inexcusable. It's inexcusable to have 7 undefeated fighters in a single division in the top 10. Inexcusable. That shows you right there that the best are not fighting the best in that division. That is a dumpster juice division. 2 best fighters in the division for 4 years have not fought each other, and it's almost September 2022, and they still haven't agreed to a contract. Inexcusable, disgusting. Disgusting. We need to build a culture in which it's okay to lose as long as you're going for the best, as long as you're striving to be the best. You fall down, it's fine. Pick yourself back up. We're going to be there in the next fight. And that's why Anthony Joshua, he's built that fan base. I'm telling you, it's an organic fan base that you're not going to detach that fan base from him off of 2 straight losses to the same fighter who happens to be a special fighter in Alexander Usyk. You're not. Even if Canelo were to lose to Golovkin, you're not going to detach that fan base from Canelo by losses to Bivol and Canelo and Golovkin back to back. You're not. You're not. They built it, and it's going to take a lot more than that to detach them from their fan base. Alexander Usyk, to finish off on this, special fighter. I'll just say it again. 20-0. In 20 fights, this dude has fought in 8 different countries. In the United States, he fought on the East Coast and the West Coast. 20 fights. He's fought in a different country almost every other fight. He's consolidated 7 of the 8 major belts in the 2 weight classes he's fought in. And if we count in the ring as a major belt, he's consolidated 9 out of the 10 major belts in those 2 weight classes he's campaigned in. He's been the lineal champion at cruiserweight, now the lineal champion at heavyweight. Dating back to the 1860s, he's now the guy who beat the guy who beat the guy who beat the guy. And he did it coming up from cruiserweight, having natural weight disadvantage against these guys and turning his disadvantage into an advantage, being that these bigger guys are having trouble finding him in there. Lateral movement, athleticism, special athleticism. And it also takes special conditioning to be able to fight bigger fighters who are going to lean on you, who you have to get away from in there. He can fight off his front foot. He can fight off his back foot. He has enough power. He generates enough power to keep these guys honest. Special fighter. On that note, man, I got to get out of here. I'll be back around the same time tomorrow. Truly appreciate everybody who's been in the chat. The archive views have been incredible. The Twitter engagement has been incredible. Appreciate all y'all support. On that note, man, I'm out on this Monday. I'll be on the Aftermath on D-Style Boxing channel tonight, so check us out on there to talk more Usyk versus Joshua. I'm out, man. God bless. Peace.